Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're wrestling with the machine, or maybe more accurately, wrestling with how we can be better partners to the machine.
That's a great way to put it.
We took all that detailed source material you sent over, focusing on that intersection of AI, jobs, and what actually leads to success for a company.
Right.
And if you follow the headlines at all, the conversation always seems to get stuck. It's either AI will free us all and create a utopia,
Or it's the robot apocalypse, mass unemployment, dystopia.
Exactly. It makes for good headlines, but it really misses what's happening in the messy middle.
It does. And our mission in this deep dive is to cut right through that noise, to look at what's actually working inside organizations right now.
Okay.
And the material, it really reveals this powerful paradox. The question isn't if jobs are going to change. They are. The real question is how you even define success when this tech is everywhere.
So what's the big takeaway?
Well, here's the finding that just flips the whole script, and we want you to hear this right up front. Technical AI skills. The ability to code, to manage the nuts and bolts.
Stuff everyone is trying to hire for.
That's it. It shows a surprisingly weak correlation with actual business results.
Really?
Yeah. The companies that are actually winning are the ones prioritizing something else entirely. These high-level ways of thinking, of using judgment, we're calling them Meta-Competencies.
Okay, that is a huge shift. So we've taken the evidence you shared from McKinsey, Harvard, Stanford, all those case studies,
Yeah.
and we've structured this deep dive to unpack those 6 critical meta-competencies.
Yeah.
We're going to show you exactly why things like strategic judgment and even empathy are now trumping pure technical skill when it comes to getting a real return on your AI investment. All right, so let's define this paradox. And to do that, we first have to appreciate the scale of what we're talking about.
It's massive.
The World Economic Forum is projecting a 22% churn in the labor market by 2030. That's, 92 million roles displaced?
Yeah, but here's the other side of it. They also project 170 million new roles will be created.
So it's not just a one-for-one replacement. It's a complete transformation.
It is. And those numbers confirm that change is coming. But the research shows that just hiring tech-savvy people, it's not enough.
Not the answer.
Not at all. In fact, that research from Harvard Business School and MIT, it found that technical skills are, a pretty weak predictor of whether a company will succeed with AI.
So the real danger isn't necessarily just losing jobs.
No, the immediate danger is financial. It's what they call capital misallocation.
What does that mean in practice?
Think of it like this. You spend a fortune on an AI agent to do, say, financial reporting. But the maintenance, the updates, the integration, all of that ends up costing 1.5 times the salary of the analyst you were trying to replace.
So you haven't actually gained anything.
You've lost. You've just created expensive overhead that looks like you're innovating.
That failure mode expensive overhead that just looks like innovation, that must be why this skills distinction is so important.
Everything.
Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute, they break it down into 2 different kinds of understanding. First, there's technical AI literacy.
Right.
And that's the trainable stuff, right? Understanding how an LLM processes tokens, managing a context window, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But then there's the second piece, strategic AI fluency. And that's not knowledge, it's wisdom. It's the judgment about when and how and even if you should deploy these tools to get a real advantage.
It's knowing how the hammer works versus knowing when you actually need to use a nail.
Perfect analogy. And the financial weight of that distinction is staggering. McKinsey looked at over 800 companies and found that the technical deployment part, the thing everyone spends money on, only explain about 18% of the difference in ROI.
Only 18%.
Just 18. But the strategic judgment, the human chase about what to automate and why, that explains 61% of the variance.
Wow. So you're paying for the judgment, not the code.
You are. If the strategy's wrong, the best tech in the world won't save you.
And we're seeing this gap play out everywhere. That LinkedIn Learning report was eye-opening. 68% of employees are using AI every week.
Which is huge.
But only 23% are showing what they call productive fluency.
Meaning they're actually getting measurable results from it.
Right. So the other 2/3 are just engaging in AI theater.
Yeah.
We've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
The manager who just pastes a GPT response into an email without checking it.
Or the team that builds a dashboard nobody ever looks at. It's the appearance of progress without the results.
So if the technical stuff is just table stakes, What are these 6 meta-competencies that separate the real successes from the expensive experiments? Let's dig into the first two. They seem to be about learning and
Yeah.
questioning.
Exactly. The first one is adaptive learning capacity. This is basically, it's learning how to learn when the ground is constantly shifting underneath you.
So a one-and-done training program is useless.
Instantly obsolete. The tools change before the course is even over. So effective learning has to be continuous, and it has to be tied to what you're doing right now.
That Bosch case study was a perfect example. They just scrapped their old, long training modules, and they built this modular AI academy instead. So an engineer runs into a computer vision problem on a project.
And they access a short, targeted module on that exact topic right then and there.
And the result was 60% less training time. But more importantly, 78% of the people who went through it could actually articulate a clear decision framework for how to use the AI, not just the technical steps.
And that's the goal. That feeds right into the second competency, deep AI comprehension, which paradoxically is really about developing informed skepticism.
So you need to understand it deeply enough to not trust it.
Precisely. You don't have to be a data scientist, but you need enough grounding to push back on a vendor's sales pitch, to see where a model might be biased, and to know when a human needs to step in and say no.
I found the KPMG model for this fascinating. They use this tiered system. They basically accepted that only, 15% of their people would ever be true AI translators?
Right, so they focus their deep training there.
But for the big middle group, the 60% of their core staff, the goal wasn't to teach them how to build AI. It was to teach them how to be smart consumers of it.
And the most brilliant part of their strategy, I think, was the failure curriculum.
Tell us about that.
Instead of just showcasing wins, they built case studies around biased hiring algorithms, chatbots that went haywire, expensive deployment disasters.
So they learned the guardrails by studying the crashes.
Exactly. And their internal feedback showed it was way more effective for developing real judgment than just looking at generic success stories. Failure teaches you where the edges are.
Okay, so we've got learning and questioning. Let's pivot now to the more strategic side of things. How do you turn that knowledge into a real measurable advantage?
It starts with the bottom line. Competency number 3 is temporal leverage.
Which is a fancy way of saying.
Automation economics literacy. It's the skill of figuring out if a tool's actually saving you time or if it's just shifting the work around.
Because I think most of us just assume automation equals time saved. Full stop.
It's a massive and often wrong assumption. Harvard Business School has this great 3-question framework to cut through it.
Okay, what are they?
First, does this tool actually eliminate work or does it just change it? Like, does it get rid of data entry or does it just turn a data entry job into a model validation job?
Okay.
Second, what is the true all-in cost? Not just the license fee, but maintenance, integration, the human oversight, all of it.
And the third?
Does it free you up for higher value work? If you save 5 hours on reports, but you spend those 5 hours on email, you failed the test. You haven't gained anything.
Unilever applied this with what seemed like brutal discipline.
They did. Their review board said every single automation proposal had to show a projected ROI of over 150% within 18 months, no exceptions.
And the result?
A 23% productivity jump while their tech spending stayed way below the industry average. They only automated the slam dunks.
If cost discipline is one side of that coin, it seems like the other has to be empowerment.
That's number 4, strategic agency, or distributed decision authority.
Which means getting rid of the centralized bottleneck.
Yes. The top-down command and control approach just doesn't work here. It's too slow. MIT found that when you give frontline teams the authority to automate, within guardrails, they develop new capabilities 2.8 times faster.
The Mayo Clinic case study was great on this. They gave clinical departments these innovation budgets, right? Up to $75,000 a quarter.
To experiment with AI. And that decentralized approach sparked 127 different grassroots projects. 43 of them were good enough to scale across the whole organization.
But wait, that sounds a little chaotic. Giving 127 teams money to do their own thing. What were the guardrails that kept it from falling apart?
That's the clever part. The guardrails weren't about getting approval from the top. They were about measurement and transparency.
Okay.
Teams had to define their metrics up front and share everything they learned, good or bad. And here's the key. The 84 projects that failed, they were just as valuable. They quickly showed everyone what didn't work. They identified dead ends for a very small price, saving the organization millions it might have wasted on a big centralized project that was doomed from the start.
That focus on distributed learning, it feels like it leads directly into the last two competencies.
Hmm.
These really uniquely human skills that, AI actually makes more valuable, not less.
Absolutely. And the fifth is creative problem solving.
This one is so critical because of that risk of what the source called algorithmic anchoring.
Yes. If we get too dependent on the first answer the AI gives us, our own thinking just gets lazy. It narrows. We start converging on the same machine-friendly, predictable solutions.
So how do you stop that? How do you protect that human creativity?
Well, the design firm IDEO has a fascinating approach. They separate their workflows.
Okay.
They have exploration phases, which are strictly human only, brainstorming, divergent thinking, blue sky ideas. Then only after that do they move to refinement phases, where AI comes in to test assumptions and optimize.
And they measured this.
They did. Their internal studies showed that teams who used AI from the very beginning of a project, they converged on similar predictable ideas 68% more often.
Wow. The machine was literally anchoring their creativity.
It was. Spotify does something similar. They ban algorithmic recommendations during the initial concepting for new features. They want to protect that raw human imagination.
And that leads us to the final competency, number 6, stakeholder empathy.
Which is really just stakeholder-centered design.
Mhm.
It means paying systematic attention to how automation affects everyone it touches, not just the efficiency metric on a spreadsheet.
So the employees whose jobs are changing, the customers who have to interact with a new system.
All of them. If you ignore the people, you guarantee the system will be rejected. This requires actual practices like impact mapping and clear transparency.
The Cleveland Clinic example showed the payoff here with their diagnostic tool.
A huge payoff.
Instead of just pushing a new AI system onto their doctors and nurses, they brought them into the design process. They let the clinicians define the rules and the thresholds.
They let the users shape the system. It builds immediate trust.
And the adoption rate was 87%, compared to just 34% at other hospitals that just imposed the same tool from the top down.
And here's the kicker. Patient satisfaction scores actually went up. Because the staff felt so comfortable with the tool, they were transparent with patients about how it was helping them. Empathy created trust, which created better outcomes.
Mm.
So when you pull all 6 of these skills together, the big takeaway is that a sustainable AI advantage, it goes way beyond just a one-time training session.
Right.
You have to embed this continuous learning ethical frameworks into the very structure of the organization.
That's where you get things like Microsoft's AI Fluency Guild, which isn't a class you have to take.
No, it's a peer community. They share case studies, they share what's working, what's not. It makes learning social and continuous.
And the numbers back it up. Guild participants reported 43% higher fluency, and more importantly, they had 31% higher actual productivity gains.
And we have to circle back to ethical stewardship. McKinsey's research is clear. Your technical skill has to be paired with thinking about the implications beyond just profit.
So, like IBM's framework, they treat their bias audits and transparency reviews.
Not as a compliance checkbox. They treat them as opportunities to build a better product. An ethics review that forces you to find more representative data doesn't just make your model fairer, it makes it more robust and less risky.
And for you as an individual, the incentive is pretty clear too. The data shows employees who master these AI orchestration capabilities.
The Meta-Competencies.
Right. They see their compensation grow 2.3 times faster than their peers, and they report being 41% more satisfied with their jobs. This is the path to being a partner with the technology, not a casualty of it.
So to synthesize this whole deep dive, real sustainable AI advantage comes from cultivating these 6 meta-competencies: adaptive learning, deep comprehension, temporal leverage, strategic agency, creative problem solving, and empathy.
These are the human frameworks that let us guide the machine.
Perfectly said.
So the key takeaway for you listening is this. You have to shift your investment. Stop focusing only on buying the next piece of tech. The real bottleneck, the real scarce resource right now is organizational fluency and human judgment. It's not about the availability of the tools. So here's a final thought for you to chew on based on everything we've just discussed. If success really comes from empowering your people, that's strategic agency, and being disciplined about cost temporal leverage, then what's one hidden, low-value, repetitive task in your own workflow right now that could be the perfect first test case?
A low-stakes experiment?
Exactly. Find that task and apply that 3-question automation economics framework to it. See if it holds up.
Start building your own strategic fluency today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.